Okay, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Today, we are launching a new occasional series called From Discipleship to Apostleship, Stepping Up in Faith and Stepping Out in Ministry. And I'm going to be interviewing a series of faith leaders on how they are doing just that. And for those of you who may not be familiar with me, I'm Reverend Rebecca Simon Peter. I'm a spiritual and leadership coach, passionate about reconnecting church leaders with their God-given powers to co-create miracles with the divine. For more than a decade, I was a pastor of local churches. I've written several books, most recently, Dream Like Jesus, Deepen Your Faith and Bring the Impossible to Life. And I'm the founder of the group coaching program, Creating a Culture of Renewal, that energizes church leaders across the country to reclaim their calling and regrow their ministries. So each spring, we host a series called let me get my head back on straight, called the 40 Days of Apostleship. And that takes place during Lent. And it's really an opportunity for church leaders and for people of faith anywhere, to not only believe in Jesus, but practice believing like Jesus, so that they can co-create miracles, just like the apostles of old. And today is our inaugural program. We have Reverend Rj Davis, who is the pastor of John Wesley United Methodist Church in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he and his church have taken on the 40 Days of Apostleship, the challenge, and amazing things have been happening there. And that word is coming from all kinds of people. So we're going to be interviewing Reverend Rj Davis, and some of his folks from his congregation are here. So let's say hi to Reverend Davis. And RJ, let's hear just a little bit about what's been happening in your ministry setting. Tell us about the 40 Days of Apostleship.
Thank you, Rebecca. I have to say that I first encountered the 40 Days of Apostleship a year ago when you put those blogs up. And I was so caught up in a pandemic was new and other kinds of work that I was doing. I thought, boy, this is really intriguing. I don't have time to dive into this now. And so I saved every one of those blogs and thought, I'll get back to those. It rolled around to Lent this year and it came up again. And I thought, I never did anything with that last year. I need to do something with that. What I didn't realize was how well it was going to fit in with what God was doing in my spirit, because I really, in the late summer of last year, became convinced that part of our struggle in mainline Protestant churches today, part of what's led to decline, stagnation, and plateau, is that we've been stuck in discipleship, and we've forgotten that Jesus made disciples as a way of training them to not be disciples, but be apostles. And
Yeah.
it's through apostles that the world gets transformed much more than disciples. And then we entered into this 40 day of apostleship, and it gave me a deeper understanding of what it means to be an apostle, even more than I had an inkling of when I first started having those thoughts in the fall of the year.
Yeah, that's so great, RJ, that you see that distinction between discipleship and apostleship. What would you say is the main distinction? Like, what did you learn about this?
What I discovered is you come at faith from a different perspective as an apostle than you do as a disciple. The big aha for me was in reading Jesus talking about, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can
Mhm.
say to this mountain, move, and it'll move. And I've always read that, and I think in my mind, I was hearing Jesus say, if you have faith in me the size of a mustard seed and
Mm.
tell this mountain to move, I'll move it for you.
Ah,
And I began to understand that Jesus was really trying to tell his disciples, look, if you have the kind of faith I have,
yeah.
even if it's only the size of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move, and it'll move. That was transformational.
So instead of Jesus moving it for you, you have this direct relationship with the mountain based
Yeah,
through your faith.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not faith in Jesus that moves it, it's my faith
Oh,
that is copying the faith of Jesus. And that's what
yeah.
rabbis wanted their disciples to do.
Yeah.
Was, you know, live them out in and their understandings out in life. And yeah, it was the same thing when the disciples couldn't cast out the demon out of the boy,
Hmm.
and Jesus says, you don't have faith. Well, it wasn't they didn't have faith in Jesus. As soon as Jesus showed up, they knew the demon could be cast out.
Uh-huh.
Jesus is saying, you don't have my kind of faith, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
just changed everything for me.
Man, is that powerful?
It
You don't
is.
have my kind of faith. And so you saw you could actually have his kind of faith.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, one of the things I've discovered, or I've hypothesized, my background is science. So I have this hypothesis that in order for those disciples slash apostles to do what Jesus did, they had to be able to believe like he believed. And that's where I get this whole idea of not only believing in Jesus, but believing like Jesus.
Hmm.
Yeah, not just having faith in Christ, but having the faith of Christ. So, yeah, it sounds like you've really been experiencing that.
Yeah, I have. And it's been a whole different understanding of apostleship because, the definition we were given in seminary of an apostle was one who was sent, you
Okay.
know. Yeah, sent to do the work of God, but the focus is on the being sent. And oh my gosh, this was about changing how we operate
Hmm.
and making the we operate out of that belief and faith, not operating out of belief and faith in Jesus, but belief and faith like Jesus.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so great. That is so great. I'm really glad that you discovered that. So, um, tell me some of the ways that divine partnership really began to show up in your congregation.
It's been in a lot of ways as people have as the 20 people that joined me in this adventure. This was a real step in boldness for me because I got to tell you, Rebecca, I thought that you were going to write a daily blog for 6 days to give us 40 days of apostleship. And I
Mm,
kind of marketed it that way to my folks. And
mm.
then I discovered you were doing a weekly blog. And so I had 5 days to fill. And so I
Okay.
wrote responses to your blog for 4 days.
Wow.
And sometimes it was just breaking the blog down and, leading them through the steps.
Mhm.
And then on the sixth day, we did Zoom conversation about what we were learning. And so we
Wow.
got to tell stories. And so all these stories of divine partnership came out in the midst of all of that. Learning to pray specifically for things, believing in the superpower,
Mhm.
believing we had a divine partnership. That was a huge one for us to
Mhm.
be able to say, like Jesus, believe like Jesus, I, RJ, and the Father are one. That was huge.
It's really almost radical, isn't it?
Oh, it sounded so presumptuous,
Yeah, yeah. Like it's
and
heresy or
almost,
something.
yeah, almost prideful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but recognizing how Jesus prayed for that in his high priestly prayer, that we would have that unity that he had with the Father,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's what he's talking about.
I know. And to actually say those words out loud. And
Yeah.
did everybody say those words out loud?
I tried to get them to.
Yeah.
Most of them did. Some struggled. Some got them out once.
Yeah. It takes a lot of chutzpah. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it
Yes.
takes a lot of chutzpah, yeah, to do that. So, so interesting. Man, I'm impressed and I'm humbled that you all really took this on and that you practice being in that divine partnership
Yeah.
with God. So, what did you identify as your superpower?
Um, Mine, I think, was recognizing, um, we're in a church that's plateaued, that we don't have to stay there,
Mm,
um, and recognizing that I have to tell you, I have been a church growth pastor in many of my appointments,
mhm,
but in the last few that has not been true, and there have been a lot of external circumstances that contributed to that. But as I was doing work in the creating a culture of renewal track two, I realized that the greatest fear that was holding me back was that God didn't trust me with his dreams anymore.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah.
And so then to find out I'm in divine partnership with God, then he does trust me with those dreams. And he'd already begun to assure me that that was true.
Mm.
And part of my just embracing that partnership is what is what is God about that I can join him in? And for me, it was how can I help people move from discipleship to apostleship?
Wow. That's so beautiful. Now, you helped a lot of people, apparently. You did a lot of empowering because you had 20 people working with you. And we've got a number of folks here today. You're just
Yes.
kind of beaming because of all that's happened together. Let's hear from a couple of the folks from your congregation and what actually happened for them. I know we've got Jewel DeBoard with us today, and Jewel's got a special experience to share with us. Jewel, tell me about what really happened for you. What was it like to be in divine partnership with God?
This was a really powerful study for me. I grew up in a Christian home, wonderful examples. I had facilitated 10 sessions of 32-week disciple Bible study, taught Sunday school, learned a lot from RJ's Bible study. I'm always awed by how much more I have to learn.
Wow.
If we're to believe like Jesus and our divine partnership with him, we should pray specifically like Jesus did.
Hmm.
Well, I was willing to try, not to test God, but to test my own faith.
Yeah.
For specific prayer wasn't something I thought appropriate, actually. I have to tell you that I felt like God knows better than I do what should happen. And I
Mhm.
have a great faith, so I believe that to be true. But I decided to try your specific prayer, as in your case with the coffee mug.
Yes.
My daughter, married with 4 kids, was diagnosed with cancer in September.
Hmm.
Her medication alone is $2,800 a month. Adding to the burden of health issues was overwhelming for them.
Hmm.
Following your suggestion, I would pray specifically to have that monthly expense to be within their means.
Wow.
And I told my daughter and son in law about my prayers and asked them to join me in those prayers. And that, that is an option that with my son in law that he was willing.
Wow.
The first month, a year-old return check was sent to them for $2,600.
Oh my gosh.
And
Woo!
I think we were all just awed. The next month, their stimulus check came for $2,800 right when the thing was due.
Oh
And
my
this,
goodness.
and this month, it's less than half of the $28. So, in partnership with God, I believe my specific prayers have power. But I think even more powerful for me at my life stage was making a list of what God has done in my life
Hmm.
to believe in your divine partnership.
Hmm.
I'm in a life stage now that prevents me from being as active as I've been in the past, especially within the walls of the church. My husband
Hmm.
has bad dementia. That's been a problem. The list has made me see that I was an apostle all along
Hmm.
when I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Hmm.
As I listed the ways that God had worked through me, it gave me the real confidence to continue to be an apostle in my day to day living with family and friends. And I
Hmm.
keep adding to that list, Rebecca.
Hmm.
It's been
Jewel,
amazing.
that's so inspiring what you're sharing. I mean, first off, could we just have a moment of awe over those prayers you prayed and how that money showed up?
Yep,
That's really like where two or three are gathered and God answers our prayers. You had that experience, didn't you?
I did.
That is so amazing. I've got goosebumps all over. I just got Holy Spirit goosebumps about what's happening. And then for you to realize that you were actually an apostle all along. That's exactly what I want to have happen for people is to realize you weren't stuck in discipleship this whole time. You were actually being sent forth. Now, when you say you were an apostle all along, Jewel, do Say a little bit more about that. Like, do you realize that you were being sent, or that you were co-creating miracles, or you had superpowers? What do you mean by that?
I guess I've always had such a strong faith, but when you see a need and react to it, I think. When my son was a senior in high school, we took a young man in for a year and a half, and it changed his life. And he writes to me today. He's a man of faith and says how much that meant. My daughter had a neighbor who was being abused, and she called me and said, "Mom, could they spend the night at your house?" And this lady and her two teenage boys came to our house. Well, they ended up staying 4 months.
Wow.
When I look back at some of those things, I'm not sure I'm really answering your question, but there are things that just happen along the way, and you don't think of them as being an apostle when you're doing them.
Yeah. You know what I hear, Jewel? I hear that you're practicing agency, that you understood you had power to act and to make a difference, and you use that. And that agency, I think, is a key quality that apostles have. So you're not just sitting around, waiting for something to happen to you. You're out there in the dance with God, being an active participant in life. And I thank you so much for what you shared with us. I'm sure you could talk with us for hours about all the things that you've discovered, and just appreciate that you're sharing these pieces with us. Very, very inspiring.
It was a joy to share.
Yeah, thank you so much. And let's see, I know that Mark Upton is with us today. And Mark, you've got some experiences to share. What did you discover about being an apostle?
Well, having spent a lifetime developing my discipleship skills, now transitioning to the apostle world is, it's not a roller coaster ride. It's more like the Indianapolis 500. We're moving fast, and hold on. Wow. And right now I feel like I'm riding in the pace car with Jesus Christ himself, waving everybody on.
Oh, that's awesome, Mark.
I would like to read something. This comes straight from my heart. And I only wrote this a few weeks ago, and I don't know why, because I'm not a writer of this type of composition. More like our friend Barb Wetzel would do. But I've been powerfully led in the last year, especially by God, asking, what do you want me to do with the rest of my life? And on the same day that I asked that in a prayer, and in all seriousness, I received an email from our district superintendent inviting me to participate in a racial justice ministry at the district level in Cincinnati. And the rest is history. I've been headfirst into that, working 30 hours easily a week just on materials involved in campaigns, demonstrations, sit-ins, letters of recommendation for Asian American groups to get redress of grievances at the University of Cincinnati. It's like, where did this come from?
Oh my goodness, Mark.
Here's part of my answer. And this comes from both, the sources both are Rj Davis and yourself, Rebecca. I've read a lot about you and other things. I saw you videotaped presentation that you made at the Ohio River Valley Conference a few years ago. And I believe in what you say, and I'm excited and look forward to the rest of this ride in the pace car.
Amen.
Show me where to walk and teach me to do your will. Lord, I want to do your will. You have prepared me for this moment. Now, please show me the way. Take my hand. You have equipped me for this time. A lifetime of experiences prove I am ready. I can create. I can organize. I can follow. I can lead. I can analyze. I can motivate. I can use my eyes to make amazing beauty. I can dream and make change a reality. I have learned to set goals and then accomplish bit by bit. I have even learned lessons through failure. Lord, you taught me that all challenges are opportunities, and with each goal met, share the joy with those who helped. Looking back, I know you were with me each step of the way. Special people have been placed in my path, carefully chosen by you. Parents, teachers, pastors, co-workers, supervisors, and friends. Valuable lessons learned by each, from each. How to work and treat others with appreciation and good respect. And for some, definitely, how not to follow and behave. Wear a smile. It makes us look good and warms hearts. Be friendly. Genuinely care about others' lives and families. Be on time. Be the example. What will people say once I depart from this earth? What witness will I leave behind? How I long to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Consider my work a ministry that reflects your goodness. Others are always watching. Work quietly to show the love and beauty of my Lord. Now retired, I seek meaning in this new life, a renaissance of purpose, an awakening to new possibilities. You have equipped me for so much, amazing gifts, skills, and experiences. You have prepared me for this moment. Lord, show me the way, show me where to walk, lead me to the path of your purpose for me. Show me your will, your plan for me. Give to me opportunities. Put me in places where my love for you is reflected. Use me, Lord, as a witness to others of your love. Use my hands, my mind, and place a spirit of joy within my heart. You have spent my lifetime preparing me just for this moment. Grasp my arm, lead me forward. I am ready, Lord, ready to live out your purpose for me. Surround me, Lord. Walk in front of me. Walk beside me. Walk behind me. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven through me.
Mark, that's an apostle's prayer if I ever heard one. So beautiful. I really appreciate your sharing that with us. And you know what touches me the most about your story is that here you're making yourself available to God, and all of a sudden the DS calls, the bishop, I'm sure, said, hey, make sure you call Mark Upton and let's get this guy involved with our racial justice efforts. Wow. And there's your prayer. What's your will, God? Racial justice. Hey, hey, hey. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that. We've got one more person to hear from, Fred Wetzel. Fred, how has apostleship impacted your life?
Apostleship has been like mind-blowing to me. I've grown up in the church, and I've been on a 7-year faith journey with RJ and a lot of other folks in our church through a Bible study, and learned a lot about the life and times of Jesus, Old Testament, New Testament. And it's comparing that to the life of our church, we seem to be doing a lot of inward looking, not outward looking. And to realize that discipleship is somewhat inward looking, right? We're growing ourselves, but apostleship is moving outside of that and moving out to God's kingdom. So I'm part of a vision group with RJ to try and dream like Jesus. So it's reading your book, and trying to learn from God what is His kingdom vision for our church. Where does he want us to serve in his kingdom to make a difference? And at the same time, we do this 40-day Lenten study. So God's sense of timing is just incredible, the way he pulls these things together. And I felt a really close partnership with God when I read your blog, Believe Your Life Has Purpose. Having faith like Jesus requires me to believe in my purpose, just as Jesus believed in his. I wrote out the soulful steps, Jesus's 4-part process of identifying purpose. While working through those 4 steps, I felt and heard God speak to me. I call those experiences aha moments. I have been struggling with my decision not to serve as the chairperson or a team leader for any function at our church. In my work life, I did not like that position, and I did not have the success that I achieved when I served as a member of that committee or as a team player. I'm at my best when serving as a supporting cast person. So while I'm working through the 4 steps, believing in my purpose like Jesus believed in his, God shared with me the reason for my successes and failures. God led me to understand that servant leadership comes from my joy of doing what I like to do, what comes naturally to me. God wants us all to serve doing things that bring us joy and serves the greater good. God has empowered me to use the skill set he gifted me with to live my life with the faith of Jesus and serve it with his kingdom through apostleship. So I feel like I'm now on the cusp of apostleship. And I understand that the definition of apostleship is to take the love of God and share that with his kingdom here on earth. And our task now is to try and discern what is God's dream for our congregation to serve that kingdom on earth.
Yeah, that's really great, Fred. I love that you arrived at that your purpose has something to do with what comes naturally to you, what brings you pleasure, what you're good at. I think sometimes we focus so much on the suffering of Christ that we think if we don't feel bad, it's not Christian, And I just don't think that's true. I think that the gifts that we've been given bring us a sense of pleasure and pride and bring that to the people around us, and that there's an inner thriving that we are to experience. I don't think those apostles of old walked around suffering. Now, they had their moments, right? I mean, around the crucifixion and post-crucifixion, that was hard stuff. But I think when they were co-creating miracles with the divine and that divine energy, I think they were in the zone. I think it felt good. I think they were jazzed. I think they were excited to be alive, and they had that sense of aliveness within them. And I think sometimes that's what's missing in churches. RJ, what do you think? Is that sense of aliveness? Yeah, sometimes missing. So talk to me, RJ. We've heard just a smattering from your fabulous people and all that's been happening. And I know we could hear stories for hours, but talk to me about what you now see is happening in your congregation and in your community, because people are really resonating with this idea of apostleship.
I think part of it is just a new boldness within me. And taking leadership to a new level in this congregation. As we are endeavoring, we've had some folks pushing for 1.5 years or more to work on a church improvement plan.
Okay, yeah.
And target specific people that might prolong the existence of our church, save our church, whatever. And some of those folks have really turned the corner now and begun to see that that's not the reason you reach out to people. It's not for them to save us. It's for helping us make God real to them. And some of those very people are now apostles. And so, they've had huge shifts in their thinking and the reasoning for why we should do, what we do. I can't say that we have the evidence of big change happening in our community yet,
Yet.
um, but I see it coming, because we are serious about this vision and catching God's dream for our church. So much so that I'm preaching about it, even though I don't know what it is yet.
Beautiful.
I'm just telling people it's coming,
It's
and
coming. Yeah.
we've got a group of people that are listening and watching, and the most amazing thing is my visioning team meets on the first Monday of the month, and when we finished meeting this last meeting, I was informed that we now have a prayer team that is praying while we are meeting. And I was sharing that with somebody after a meeting the other night at the church, and he said, "Hey, I and another guy in the church have been sitting in the sanctuary praying for this church for years. We'll pray for you during that time."
Wow.
And so the prayers have power.
And you know what I love about that, RJ? You didn't organize that,
No, I didn't.
right? That's
No.
in the dream plan, in the dare plan, when you dream and align and realize and expand around Jesus's dream, that expansion is where other people have caught the vision. Yeah. And this thing's going way beyond what you first envisioned, and you've got this alignment. And that's what I'm hearing happening where you are.
Oh, yeah. And it was that way with the 40 days of apostleship.
Yeah.
I expected it to be good material. I knew that it would challenge our thinking, and that it would be a wonderful asset to our discipleship to understand more about apostleship.
Yeah.
I had no clue it was going to be so transformational.
Woo.
Not just for me, but for those who were a part of the journey with me. And as they have not been able to contain themselves, they've shared with others, and it's breaking out. My guess is we're probably going to repeat 40 days of apostleship for Pentecost this year.
Right on. That's great.
Because others will be aware after this interview that we've been doing this in our congregation. And I didn't open it up to everyone. I opened it up to people in my Bible study. And so there's a whole lot of congregational members that aren't yet aware that will be, and we'll make the opportunity there for them.
That's really great. It's like Jesus had his 12, but he also had the 72.
Yep.
And he went from place to place. We don't even know how many groups of 12 and 72 and people he had all over the place. So I really see you, RJ, being apostolic. And because you're willing to be apostolic, you're teaching others how to be apostolic, and the whole thing is going to get wildly, beautifully, blessedly out of control. So here's
I have no doubt.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. It's been such a pleasure to be with you. I've loved hearing about the apostolic work that's happening at John Wesley United Methodist Church in Cincinnati. If you're local in that area and you want to get in on something good, check out this congregation. Now, for those of you that are listening and watching, if you want to start the 40 days of apostleship in your congregation, Pentecost is an excellent time to do that. And you can find those blogs at RebeccaSimonPeter.com. So I'm encouraging you to go there and to check that out. And thank you so much to everybody being a part of our inaugural session of From Discipleship to Apostleship. I want to thank each and every one of you for your participation. Reverend Rj Davis, Mark Upton, Jewel DeBoard, and Fred Wetzel, and all the other members that have shown up today to support and to love. You've really made this an exciting and inspiring time to be together. Thank you so much for your faith. Thanks for having faith in your purpose and in your superpowers and in believing like Jesus and really putting that to the test. You have inspired us all. I'm Rebecca Simon Peter signing off. Thank you so much for being here. Look for us again, because we'll be back with more From Discipleship to Apostleship. And in the meantime, you can check out our offerings at RebeccaSimonPeter.com. Thank you all. God bless you.